So if you play defense, will it sustain you? You bet it will. And I can go on and on. My story, Tommy's story, I can tell you story after story of players in our program that went on to play in high school and college that weren't the most talented, but they played lockdown defense, and they played a lot. So just believe this when I say, if you can get stops, if you play defense, you will play. You will play.
Who loves basketball? Coach Corsi here, California, Philippines, Bearcats. Let's go, Bearcats!
Please subscribe and like. Hey, today I want to talk about playing defense and how important it is. Basketball is a very simple game, but it also is a very detailed game. And the most important thing you need to learn in basketball is how to play defense and play it well. Because if you learn how to play defense, it will sustain you your entire career, at least through high school. And in my story, it'll sustain you all the way through college. I'm going to tell you two stories today. One is my story about playing defense, and one is about Tommy. Yes, Tommy. You get to know him more as we go along here. So first I want to tell you about my story. Maranatha High School, I was a big fish in a very little pond. I really didn't have to play defense much in high school. I had to play offense. My best game ever, I scored 40 points and I grabbed 29 rebounds. But I wasn't really called on to play defense. So when I got out of high school, I got one offer, and that was to Biola University. So I went, and I really quickly realized when I showed up on campus, started playing with these guys, that I really wasn't as good as I thought I was. Not even close. So the first year I actually redshirted. All I did was practice with the team, didn't play any games, saved my eligibility. And then the next year I played with them, and again, I didn't play much. We went to the national tournament. We ended up losing in the round of the 16. We had a really great year. I think we won 28 games, 28-8, and I didn't play much. I played very little. And so after that year, I decided to transfer to Vanguard University with Coach Bill Reynolds, who I've talked about. And it was his first year, and it was my first year there. And I really quickly realized when I showed up on campus, Vanguard wasn't a powerhouse program like Biola, but I really quickly realized when I showed up that these guys were really good and very talented, and I wasn't. And so with 3 years of eligibility left, I realized that I had to change the way I played if I wanted to play, meaning that I knew I had to be the best defender on the team in order to get minutes. So I really transferred my game. I started to learn how to play defense at Biola, but I wasn't really committed to it. When I got to Vanguard and realized what I was up against, I got crazy committed to play defense. And so practices were harder for me. I played harder in practices than I did in games. And most of the teammates loved it. There's one guy, Mark, who didn't like it. So he called me, in front of everybody, he called me Psycho. And it kind of stuck. And for the next 3 years, my players, my friends, the fans, I was known as Psycho. Truly, Psycho. But what I did is I would do anything. I would dive on the floor. I would dive in the stands. I would get up in their face, ball. I would harass, intimidate within the rules, push, shove, whatever it took within the rules to compete and to get minutes. And after that year was over, I played six-man that year. And I played more minutes than anybody on the team. And then I went on junior and senior year, again, played more minutes than anybody on the team, started my junior and senior year, and really in the junior and senior year, started to really develop my offense more as I had already developed myself as a defensive player. So for me, without learning how to play defense and being committed to play the toughest defense out there, I probably would not have played college ball. So for me, defense sustained me. Okay, let me go to another story. A guy named Tommy. So After college, after a while, I coached with Chad Bickley for 4 years at Santa Fe Christian. And we had a player on that name, I'll just call him Tommy. Tommy was a lacrosse player. He was not a basketball player, but he loved basketball. And so 3 years on varsity, he played with us. He played JV his freshman year. And then he came to us when I started coaching, and he played 3 years with us. Tommy was 5'11", not real quick, couldn't jump real high. Strong, yes, because he got in the weight room a lot. But he had one thing he did very well. He played defense better than anybody I've ever seen play defense in my entire playing or coaching career. He played great defense. To the point, his junior and senior year, we would ask Tommy, hey, we're playing this team. This guy averaged 26 points a game. Here's what his tendencies are. We need you to shut him down. And if you don't, we're not going to win. And so we go into the game, and end of the game, the guy would have 8 points. Win. Tommy held him 8 points. Game over. Next game, same thing. We'd have a guy, hey, Tommy, this guy averages 26 points. Here are his tendencies. We need to shut him down. If we shut him down, we win. If we don't, we don't. And so we would start playing the game, and end of the game, we get a win. Guy gets 4 points. This is how good at playing defense Tommy was. And just to end us with 2 stories about Tommy. First one, senior year, we go to San Luis Obispo for a 4-game tournament. 4 games. 4-game tournament. And in the second game, we play a team with a guy that's averaging 28 points a game. He's one of the best players in Southern California, but he's 6'6". So we decided to put Carl on him instead of Tommy, because Carl's 6'3", pushing 6'4", and Carl's a good defender. So we're thinking we'll put Carl on him a little taller because we don't think that Tommy can guard him. So we start the game, and then the first quarter, this guy on the other team has 18 points on Carl. All of the coaches look at each other. What are we going to do? Let's give Tommy a shot. What do we got to lose? If we don't stop this guy, we're going to lose the game. So at the end of the game, we end up winning. Why? Because that same guy that got 18 points in the first quarter only got 4 points the rest of the game. Tommy completely shut him down. So we go on to win the tournament, won 4 games. They give Most Valuable Player Award. Who do they give it to? All the coaches. Not our coach, even though he would have voted for it if he could. All the coaches in the tournament give Tommy. They give Tommy Most Valuable Player of that tournament. Now, in all my coaching years, in all my playing years, I've never seen somebody that scored a total of 6 points for the entire tournament get Most Valuable Player of that tournament. Never happens. They always give it to the prolific scorer, correct? But his defense was so great in those 4 games, we could not have won that tournament without him, and every coach realized that. Last story about Tommy and the importance of playing defense. We end up the year, we go to awards bank. We're talking about awards we're going to give out to different players. We decide to name the Defensive Player of the Year award and call it the Iron Man Tommy Defensive Player of the Year award. We decide to name an award after Tommy. That's how significant he was and his play on defense. A man that probably his entire career averaged 2 points a game. To this day, I don't know any other player in the program that has an award named after them. Only Tommy. So if you play defense, will it sustain you? You bet it will. And I can go on and on. My story, Tommy's story, I can tell you story after story of players in our program that went on to play in high school and college that weren't the most talented, but they played lockdown defense, and they played a lot. So just believe this when I say, if you can get stops, if you play defense, you will play. You will play. So important. So important. One of the things, I have a lot of kids I see during games, and I come up to them after games in the Bearcats organization. Bearcats Nation. And I asked them first question, how did you do? And every time they tell me whether they won or lost. And usually the first thing they tell me is how many points they scored. And I asked them again, how did you do? How did you do? I didn't ask that question. I asked you, how did you do? And then the light bulb goes on for them. And they realize what I'm asking. Well, Coach Corsi is asking them. And they tell me, my man only scored 4 points. Fist pump, boom, attaboy. And then the next guy asks him, how'd you do? He says, Coach, my guy only scored 2 points on me. Yeah, baby. Great job. Then he asks another player. He says, Coach, my guy didn't score at all. Double fist pump. Let's go. Defense is everything. Defense is everything. And it's a shame that personal trainers today don't spend more time teaching the people that they're training how to play defense. They teach them offensive moves, which is great. But more importantly than that, the offense will come. But what they need at the youngest age is defense. Because even at youth level, everybody can score. Everybody can score. But it's the teams that can play team defense and individual defense are the ones that compete and love that scoreboard at the end of the game. We have prided ourselves in the Bearcats program to be a defensive first program. And I believe it's a tremendous reason why we've had so much success over the last 18 years and why we're still around and thriving today is because we focus first on defense. So learn how to play defense, commit to it, commit to be the best defensive player on your team and on every team you play on. And it will sustain you, guaranteed through high school. And in some cases like me, it will sustain through your entire career, like me. I'll leave you with one thing, Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. God bless you guys. God bless the Bearcats and go Bearcats! Hey guys, Coach Corsi here. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and like, and thanks for being a part of this vision for the future to impact our youth and the next generation. God bless you and go Bearcats.